Hi, everybody. I know we still have a few people logging on to join us, but I wanted to go ahead and start welcoming everybody to today's webinar, New Tools for Faster Hires, your first look at Tenstreet's September launch. I'm Gabby Parker, and I'm here with Drew Sparks and Taylor McElroy, two of our account members and job store experts. And for everybody who has made time in their busy day to be with us today, thank you and welcome to hang out with us for the next hour or so. We hope that this webinar will leave you feeling ready to connect with qualified drivers and more efficiently than ever before with One Tap Apply and Call Me Now. But before we get to that, I want to have some few housekeeping items that I'd like to go over. This webinar will be recorded and sent to you within the next 24 hours, so don't worry if you get interrupted or have to jump off the call. You'll get the recording tomorrow so you can review at your convenience. Next, I wanted to let you all know that we will be doing a quick Q&A session at the end, so please feel free to use the questions section of the GoToWebinar panel to ask questions at any time throughout the webinar so that we can answer them at the end. With all that out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic over to Drew and Taylor and let them get this show on the road. Thanks, guys.
And thank you, Gabby, and glad to be here today. My camera is off, unfortunately, because I had a permission setting, so you're only seeing Drew's smiling face, but you will hear myself over here. I'm Taylor McElroy. I'm on the account management team. May have worked with many of you that are attending here, and I'm joined today with Drew Sparks.
Hey guys, I'm Drew. I'm on the concierge team. I'm gonna have my camera on because I do talk with my hands, and I'm gonna talk with my hands with my cameras on, or if it's off, and I feel silly if it's off and I do it. So we're just gonna leave it on. So I'm Drew. I'm on the concierge team. I work a lot on the job store side, getting drivers connected with your marketing and ultimately in your seats at your truck. And then Taylor here works more on the account management side, making sure you're compliant and having the processes that set you up for success. Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and go to today's agenda. So we're going to cover all of the new fun stuff that's coming soon. Some of you, if you were at the user conference, already have some of these features, and some of the features are going to get additional enhancements, even if you've already been testing them. So we'll start off with One Tap Apply. So One Tap Apply is talking about, how can you get more information out of those lead apps, get that driver's information so it can set the recruiter up for a better time. So I'll show you how that works from my end, proving that the demo works all okay. And then Taylor, you want to talk about Call Me Now?
Yeah, and then part of what can tie into One Tap, it can be either separate or it can be combined together, is this idea of Call Me Now. It'll allow for drivers, if they're getting a one tap and they meet your requirements of what you're looking for, you can have that trigger an automatic phone call to the driver. They pick up, they answer, and then automatically have that connected with a recruiter on your side. So just a quick way to strike while the iron's hot as soon as that driver is essentially at the peak of wanting to get on with your company. Usually the quicker time that you can get to a driver and have that conversation, the more likely that driver is to lead to a hire. But this also works in just having the ability for you to be able to do some phone calling out of the dashboard and create transcripts and have recordings at the tips of your fingers for coaching conversations. And there's a lot of power around it too with automation that we'll talk about a little bit more. But some of the other things you'll also see, we have some sneak peeks around all the other tools that are coming out alongside this. But we really are going to focus on more One Tap and Call Me Now today, just so you guys are aware, because we think these are really, really powerful tools. That'll be big things that you'll want to add into the system for you.
Awesome. So One Tap Apply, we're going to touch on this one first. This one is probably my most favorite of the things we've got going. So it is just more complete driver applications. So that way your recruiters are just setting up that conversation. So recruiting, we all know it's super easy. You get that lead app, you call that driver, get a full application, you review it, see if they're qualified, and then you hire them. And it's smooth, nothing ever happens, it's all super easy. Well, we all know that that is not the case. It is absolutely more of the case of lead apps. You call, and then they call back after hours, you call in the morning, and then you maybe finally get connected with them. Maybe they're not qualified, maybe they are qualified. And if they feel qualified after you talk to them, you try to get that full app. You email them, you text them, you message them, you email, you pray, you text them, and then you get ghosted, right? Or maybe they actually fill it out, then you get to run all of your fun PSPs, all that sort of stuff. schedule orientation, and then it's good. And then even after all of that, sometimes they no show for orientation. So while we can't fix all of this, we're certainly going to try and make it a little bit better, especially with enhancing those lead applications from those short leads that you may get from some vendors in the job store or direct from other places. So the problem with traditional driver leads is that they come in with just a name, phone number, and email. So you guys all know that one. We can't see their location, their zip code, anything like that. And so you need to have more information to make sure that you prioritize based on, hey, is this driver in the right location? Or even, does this driver have any experiences? Is it worth the investment of additional time, right? Without that full application, it's really hard to see like, hey, is driver A or driver B a good fit before you call them, right? It also, you have to reach out to them quickly while they're still interested. And by seeing additional information, you can tell not only if you're interested in the driver, but are they going to be a good match for your position you have available. So the value of one tap apply here is you're going to turn that driver interest, hey, they're interested up front, into an action. So what this happens is it shares their previous or their saved Intel app with you with just one tap on their end. We'll touch on that on exactly how it goes on that one. What this does is when they fill out a lead application, they get prompted on their Pulse app, hey, fill out, share this information with the company, and they share that information there. So 95% of experienced drivers have an application on file, and wouldn't it be great if that 95% of the time you could get that additional information from the driver with just an easy click from them? So it helps your team connect really early, get to that driver, fill out the right things, and make sure you're connecting them with the right position. So focusing your efforts on those experienced and interested drivers, so you're not wasting time on leads that don't go anywhere, or you're wasting time following up with a lead 60 times and then you find out they live out of area, right? So how it works, what's going to happen, and I'll show you a full demo here in a minute. So the single source lead comes in, it's going to say, hey, when you get a lead app, so let's say Indeed, for example, right? You send that Indeed lead in, or the driver sends that Indeed lead in. You get their name, their phone number, their email address, and the job they applied for. Then that driver, if they have Pulse on their phone and it matches with their stuff, it's going to message you or message the driver and say, hey, enhance your application with one tap, and they hit yes, right? What that does is whatever application they have on file with us previously, that gets shared with them. Now, that's going to be missing a few of like your custom company questions. It may not have, their most recent driver employment on there because it's just updating and sending that stuff over that they have there, but it gives you a lot of information that you didn't have before. So that pre-pop application data gets sent directly in as a source of one tap. And then you're able to look at it and see so much more information from the one tap side on your end. So let's look at this one real quick. So we're just going to look at the demo on this. So I'm going to go over here. So I'm going to show you on the driver side. So on the driver side, and Taylor, did we send me over that sample one? Yes, we did. So I've got on the driver side right here, you can see this is one that I just sent. This would be automatic otherwise, when they do that out. So we're going to do that. Confirm that it's me. And then right here is, we received your application, would like to request your saved Intel app data. Would you like to share it with us, right? So boom, right here, you're gonna hit yes, that driver would, and they're gonna ask, hey, how many accidents have you had since the last time you applied? Well, I'm a pretty safe driver, I haven't had any accidents. How many violations or traffic conventions? Well, none. And then how many months of experience? Oh, I have 12 months of experience. Well, I can't have 12 months of experience. Let's see that. So I have 8 months of experience because that was about 8 months ago. Perfect. And so then you have that information and it sends that over. You can see that full application right there. So that way, even if the driver doesn't want to fill out the full application, you still get that stuff. And then we still push them to that full application on there. Perfect. And then I'm going to show you kind of how that looks on the recruiter side. 1 second while I pull that up.
While you're doing that, Drew, we had a pretty good question that came in here. It was how do 95% of drivers have their information in your system? Does that mean if they fill out an app from another company and they choose to apply to mine, is that where their information are coming from with one tap?
Yeah, so if they fill out basically when a driver fills out an Intel app, it saves all of that information they put in, their past work history, kind of like a resume that you would save on Indeed if you guys were applying to a job. It saves that to their Pulse profile, and then when they apply to a new job with a company that uses Tenstreet, all they have to do is update that application rather than starting from scratch. So 95% of drivers out there have an application on file from a previous applicant source. So I hope that answered the question there.
Yeah, I think that's spot on.
Awesome. I'm going to show you guys how this looks from the recruiter side because I know that's what's really important to everybody. So right in here, I pulled myself up so you can see right here. Here's my Drew Sparks, and you can see right here is the sources Intel app one tap. I filled out a couple of these because I've been testing it with everybody. You can see right here how many accidents, how many moving violations, and how many months of experience since your last application, which is great and all. But the best part is that instead of just a short, teeny tiny little bit of information, you have really important things like the zip code, oh, look at that, it's asking me if I want to call them now. This is Call Me Now, which we'll touch on here in a minute. Since I just submitted that test application, it's popping that up too. You can see my license information, all of that sort of stuff right here on there. Now, what it doesn't have in there is those company questions. They haven't signed anything for MVR, PSP, or Clearinghouse yet. That still needs to be part of the Intel app process after they apply. This is just to give you a little bit more information up front. Perfect. So got our one tap apply, that's all that. So just to demonstrate, I love a good chart, as you can tell. So we've got our lead app, and then it goes to that one tap, and then the driver says yes or no, basic questions, and then it can be done with Call Me Now. Now, basic questions can be customized. Just get with your account manager on that one. And then if you look at this one, if the driver says no to the one tap, it says that's okay, and then it sends them to the full application just in case they want to send that one. Cool. I'm gonna go into Call Me Now, Taylor.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to go ahead and just go through some of these questions as well, kind of as we're going, since we got a little pause as we're moving through. There was one about updating the application to include restrictions, as well as an application for Class D commercial drivers. If you could, I would recommend get with us over here on the account management team. We're more than happy to kind of talk through some of those things for you, because those are all things that we can configure. As well as for more notifications when a new lead comes in. We're more than happy to help you out getting that set up on the account management team. You can reach out to us at account.managers with an S at tenstreet.com. We're more than happy to help. One that came in as well, will the one tap apply prompt link only be available within the Pulse app? Can it be inserted into drip messaging, emails, or text? Unfortunately, it would end up only being through the Pulse app. The reason for that being that's where the source of them being able to store that driver Pulse profile information would come from. So it would go directly through that app. Think of it as if it's whenever they're going to fill out like a full app or anything like that for you, whenever they start typing their information in and they ask, hey, we can autofill 80% of this application for you for employment licenses, things like that. When they hit yes, it's pulling that essentially from that Tenstreet system. So that would only be through Pulse as of this moment.
The person asked that question, it's a great question on that one. The reason it can't is because drip messaging and texts and things like that, you can't hit like yes and no, and a lot of times drivers respond outside of those things, and so we didn't want to be filling those questions in on that. And then if the driver doesn't have the Pulse app installed, they can't consent to send that over. Like you saw, I had to enter my social last four in order to consent that it was me and send that one over to you.
That's a great question. I saw one too. If a driver has several applications on file, will the most recent one be the one that is shown?
Yeah, so if a driver applies to a company A and then applies to company B a few months later, you're going to have whatever their most updated application is as far as that one goes.
Yes, and whenever they fill out an app, there will be a box on it that says, hey, do you want to save this pre-pop data? So every single time it would do that. And one of the things that we'll also mention kind of going throughout, pre-population 2.0 is something that's been kind of rolling out as well. So as there's been updates, let's say I'm a recruiter and I've went in and I've updated info on a driver. After a while of no updates, there will be a prompt to the driver in Driver Pulse that says, hey, there's been updates. Would you like to go in and review these whenever they sign into Driver Pulse? So it gives them a chance to review that and keep that as up to date as possible. So that way it kind of helps with one of the big things I always see sometimes is, sometimes they put the same employer for a couple months at a time. That kind of helps clean that information up. So it makes it a little bit more accurate on those one-tap apps.
Awesome. And then I did want to address one thing. So recruiters can prompt drivers to apply with the one tap, but it's going to be an automatic thing that sends out. So I just did the manual prompting on this just to show an example. So that way you guys didn't have to watch me fill out a lead application somewhere else. And we did get another question about, custom reply questions to that. Get with your account manager and see if that's something we can set up. Some questions we can set that up as, but I do encourage you to keep that really simple so that way that driver can send that information over to you.
Sure. And then one I see as well, will one tap and call me now be enabled for all customers, or do we need to have it turned on? It will be something you will need to have a conversation with your advisor with. They'd be more than happy to kind of discuss that with you a little bit more. But once you've made that request, they'll be able to kind of help out there. Okay. Well, all right. I think we'll come back to questions. Keep pouring those in. We really appreciate you going through that. We kind of want to make it a conversation as we go to. So really appreciate you guys adding in some questions, or if you've got something that pops up along the way, definitely let us know. I kind of want to talk and touch on Call Me Now a little bit though. Essentially think of this as conversations powered by AI, decisions driven by insight, right? So with driver communication, one of the problems we see is, let's say you have a long 20-minute phone call with the driver. It's just on your landline phone. If you don't have recordings or things like that, unless you're keeping notes, there's no record of those conversations, right? They go unrecorded, they go undocumented. If you're out the next day and someone he's demanding to talk to a recruiter that day, it's a lack. You have to kind of start making up on some of that information and try to find that. And manual processes lead to missed details. So recruiters, they'll call from personal phones and jot down notes, or they'll place those notes in of a 20-minute phone call and condense down into 2 or 3 sentences. Things like that, we want to make sure that we're able to kind of fill those gaps, make it a little bit easier. And also timing's everything, because Tim has shared, if you're at our user conference, you were able to see, but the hiring rate on a driver, the quicker you reach out, the more likely that driver is to hire on with you. Having that delay in outreach can mean missing the window to engage that driver that's qualified, and you're missing that opportunity to strike while the iron's hot, right? So with Call Me Now, there's a couple different things here. We want you to be able to reach drivers the moment they apply. So if we go on to the next slide, Drew, when a new application hits the system, as a tie-in to Call Me Now, you can set up with your AM team essentially, or excuse me, as a tie-in with OneTap, you can set up with your AM team to say, hey, if this driver meets a certain criteria, we can offer a phone call to go directly to that recruiter right away, or excuse me, to that driver right away and connect with a recruiter. With one tap apply, they get the lead, they immediately one tap, and then they meet your criteria right from the jump from sharing that information. They get a phone call. Within a few minutes, that recruiter could have filled out a lead app on Indeed and be connected with your recruiter right away. Or excuse me, I keep mixing recruiter and driver, so I apologize. But that driver can have a phone call connected with that recruiter within a 5-minute window. So you're really reaching them at the highest point of interest. After this phone call happens as well, there's 2 things that's going to happen. For the driver, within their communications view, while you are looking at their profile, it's going to generate an AI-powered transcript. So the call is going to come through. There's going to be a recording that you can always go back and listen to, and you're going to have a transcript of that call and everything that came through with it. Once we have that as well, we have AI kind of built in with that transcript, and we also have the ability to have some functionality take place and some automation really start get up and running based off of what was discussed on that phone call. Excuse me. So one of the things is we can have tags automatically apply for positions, for orientation dates, things of that nature. If you have a request for CDLs that you want to send out or requests for med cards, those can automatically be triggered based off that phone call conversation, as well as being able to send forms, order drug screens, schedule training, really whatever your needs are with that based off of the conversation you have on the phone, we can make things automatically start shooting off from the system for that for you. This also feeds directly into the fit score, which is one of the things that is coming as well in early September. So that way it can match up directly there and let you find a driver that has the best fit for you and be able to call based off of that information. So I think I've kind of given a good rundown of how it sort of flows. But just to let's go bare bones basic here for a second. One tap will be, or excuse me, call me now will be a button that you are able to click right on that driver's profile. So anytime that you want to just manually trigger that call to the driver, you can do that right away. And it'll be right at the top over next to the pulse messaging. And then of course, if there is a lead app and we have this connected to, you can ask that driver for a call. But right there where Drew's hovering, you can also see that call button here at the top.
Yeah, and you can see both of them right here. So I've got the call, and then also if you're there, if somebody has call me now and you have this pop-up enabled, you can ask the driver for a call immediately right then.
It's perfect. Or of course, if you want to connect that in with one tap apply, you absolutely can, as I mentioned. So let's say the ideal flow would be submits a lead through, we'll say Indeed. Lead comes into the dashboard and we immediately send out that one tap apply. So then you're going to have that question to the driver. Do you want to share your information? They say yes. Their pre-pop data goes directly over to you. Pre-pop data catches, let's say you need 1 year of experience and that's what your trigger is. He has more than 1 year experience. We can go ahead and offer, hey, we're going to be calling you. Just be on the heads up for a phone call coming in. Call happens, connects with the driver, and then immediately connects to the recruiter. So that trigger is going to go ahead and catch there. Both phones ring with no delay, and we connect the two together, and boom, you're right there on the phone, and it's starting that conversation and striking while the iron's hot. Awesome. So I wanted to take a step back here and kind of look through some of the questions that might have been going through. Okay, I see one that there was an ongoing issue we've been having with one tap and the driver answering using sentences. If you could, would you send that over to us at account.managers@tenstreet.com? We'll be happy to look into that.
Yeah, and I may reach out to you as well because I noticed that I saw that question as well. And as you guys, I'm sorry if I was typing during this. I've been trying to respond to a few of these that we didn't get to. So somebody asked, the one tap application is not a full application. That's correct. So it's not a full application with signatures, because in order to get a full application with signatures, that would be a lot more than one tap for the driver to do. This is meant to be just a little bit of additional supplemental info to that lead application that driver can send with the one tap. We still push them to fill out the full application as often as possible, right? But if that driver doesn't want to spend out if they don't want to do their full application right then and there, then you still get their employment, accidents, and their personal information, so that way you can use that right there. With one tap, I don't recommend, this kind of came up a few times, I don't recommend sending out a one tap to people, because if you're sending something to a driver that's interested, you want to go ahead and send them that full application, right? That full application is very, very easy as well, just like the one tap is, but that way you can get those signatures and all of that sort of stuff. So really, one tap is just, think of it as kind of a recruiting like assistant that happens, when they do that lead application, they fill out the one tap right after that if they want to, right? They can just do that step up. And if they don't want to do that step up, you can still talk to them with the lead application and send them the full application later.
And one kind of building off that a little bit, sometimes there are, I know there are other companies that will go through and maybe there will be some sort of assistant that reaches out and tries to get that qualifying information. And then it's hey, let's fill out a full application. A lot of touch points going back and forth with that driver. Since they've already got that pre-population data stored within the system, just allowing them to share that right away and enhancing that lead just makes it a little bit quicker for you to be able to make a decision based on that before that full application happens. So it's definitely a way to help enhance that lead and the driver give you the information that they already have without there having to be a lot of extra back and forth. But to Drew's point too, if you're having those conversations with that driver, it's definitely best to go ahead and get that full app. Okay. Let me see here. Just kind of looking through a few more.
I saw a question about updating applications. So we're going to pull back up my little sample app right here. So in here, you can still, so with these one taps, you can still update info right here to do that. And it would just show that application as an update. So you would see all of that one tap information that the driver input. And so if you needed to, you could update that right here as well.
Okay. Awesome. An update. So
And
I
then
saw
I did see a few questions about, what is Pulse? So just real quick, just as a reminder, Pulse is our driver-facing app that drivers have. So it's got things like mapping. They can use like Google Maps for trucks, community, fuel. They can get rewards points and wallet stuff. They can do training, report detention times, and look for jobs in Pulse. So Pulse messages that come through, it's a great spot for you to use to recruit folks. All of that sort of stuff. And if you're interested in, kind of getting presented on Pulse and all of that sort of stuff, reach out to Concierge Job Store. So Job Store at Tenstreet, or you can email me. I'm on this one. So I'm drew.sparks@tenstreet.com. Please email me or reach out to us as well for that.
I saw another question in here. Since the one-tap application is not our company application, is the update feature blocked? This would be good for updating a one-tap app that was not our company's and could cause issues. So any app that ends up coming through from one-tap into your company, it wouldn't be a full application, but think of it as if it was another lead that has more information coming in. It doesn't restrict you from being able to update that whatsoever. But that would be just to your company that it was sent to. It wouldn't be going to any other companies. He only consented to share that information with you directly. And then I also saw another one too. When we as a company add an update to the application, does the driver receive a pop-up to approve the changes? It's not right away. Usually we wait and see if that driver's profile has been updated multiple times. Once there is a stop and updates happening to that profile, that's when we'll go ahead and notify that driver to let them know. With a pop-up anyway. They always have the ability within Pulse 2 to go in and look at any changes that may have happened at any time. So that way they can kind of go through and keep track of that without a pop-up as well. So we want to make sure we keep that ability for them to be able to go in and out as need be. Another one too, can we get a copy of the webinar to share with other team members who are not able to attend? Absolutely. After about 24 hours after we end the webinar, there will be a recording sent over to your email. So that way you'll be able to go ahead and have that in your inbox to be able to share as need be. Let me see here. Is there a feature like Call Me Now through the full application as well? Would that be like if driver fills out a full application, we can go ahead and have that trigger a Call Me Now as well? That's a good question. You'll always have that button to be able to click it and immediately call that driver if a full app comes in. But let me do some research on that. I definitely appreciate it if you shot us an email with that question and see, so we can pass that along and see what would be the best option there.
Yeah, and for the updating of applications, I did want to show you. So here's my profile, and you can see my profile picture with me and Hank, my dog, right here. So we have all of this. The driver can go in and update their stuff in there, just like as easy as it is for you. But now, if you're in the driver details and you want to update something, and like Taylor said, we're now prompting the driver to accept those changes once those changes are done. So that way, if you go in and fix a driver's 6 jobs that he inputted the same uh, place that he worked 6 times, instead of the next time he applies for a job having to fix that again, that driver can accept those changes and merge those in. Now the driver does have to accept the changes in order for that to happen, just to avoid mistakes and make sure that the driver is informed in that one. The driver would get a notification to accept those changes, and it's just as easy as clicking agree on that one. And, oh, I lost my.
Oh,
There it goes.
there we go. So thank you so much for all the questions. There's a whole bunch that we're still kind of going through over here. So I appreciate you kind of bearing with us as we're going through these. I've seen a lot of questions around pricing for these new features, and I think it's a good segue into this sneak peek. We'll continue to go through some of these as we get the opportunity to, but there is the question around pricing and what's included, what is not included. With One Tap and Call Me Now, these are both additional things that you would need to get with your advisors over. If it's something that you're wishing to add into the system, it can be a combined thing or an a la carte thing. But we wanted to talk about a lot of the different things that are coming just as enhancements as a part of our new tools being released. Those are kind of the big two that are paid features, but we wanted to talk a lot about a lot of the other just enhancements that are coming in as a cross of the base package. So Drew, what's going on over in your world in the job store side?
So marketing side, that's where I live all the time. If you guys have marketing questions, feel free to reach out to me and I'd be happy to talk about the industry and what's going on. So from the marketing side, some new stuff that's coming. We've got additional features. You may have noticed those in Pulse as you're filling things out. So those additional flags. So if you've got specialty things like car haul or intermodal or other sorts of things on there, and I'm actually just going to pull one up real quick so that way we can look at it. Let's do this right here. 1 second here, and I'm gonna show my screen. Okay, so right here you got your normal active job. Right here, with much fanfare, we started letting people do 2+ years of experience to target that. I know that's a common insurance requirement, so now we have that one right there. So route, local. We also have driver type. We've split out into owner operator, owner operator team, owner operator team, and then a company team driver. So that way you can split those out instead of just before we had just team drivers. Equipment, we have with your classic van, flatbed, reefer. We also have things like car haul, concrete, heavy haul, intermodal, livestock, and box trucks. So that way you can go through and click all of those sort of things. Right here, you can also select if the job is slip seat, and then if the job is a TWIC job right there, and then the transmission. So if it's an automatic transmission only, all of that sort of stuff. When the driver is going through and applying to a job, let's just go and take a peek at that job section right here. When they come through, oh, I forgot I did this. Okay, here it goes. So here you go. So you've got the driver search their location, and they select. Once again, you see those same filters that we saw in that previous one. So that way you can make sure and show to the drivers you want to right off the bat. Perfect. Pulse Supermatch, that's when you're able to push and require that drivers have a certain endorsement or something like that. There's more details coming on that one as things go, but essentially it makes sure that you're showing to the right drivers and you're able to exclude drivers if they don't have certain endorsements completely. Notifications on Pulse Match, so you're able to do chat features on there, so you're able to go through here and message right there on this one. Let's go over here. Pulse Match shared budget. So let's say you've got 4 jobs, and before Pulse Match made you do $500 per job on there. Let's say you wanted to have all of your jobs share a budget, and so that way you can get exposure for all of them and avoid any small local jobs that may not get that full amount of applications and spend out. So you can do that one. On Active Job Polygons tool, that means that if you have a complex hiring area, you can do on that one. You can do kind of a complex thing instead of just using radiuses around cities. Now be careful on that one. Some advertisers like Indeed do not support that quite yet. So keep an eye on that one. And as a reminder, especially things like notifications, shared budgets, and the polygons, those are in beta. So let us know if you come across any issues, and we'll make sure and tackle on those. For recruiting, we talked about one tap apply and call me now. And then Taylor, would you go into fit and interest score?
Yeah, absolutely. So fit score, think of this as if you've been around with Tenstreet for a while, you might have been set up with our scoring platform that we had, where you essentially can assign a score based off of certain things on the application to a driver, and add that up, get a good score, and see and highlight the ones that you want to kind of approach first. We've kind of redesigned this in a way with fit score, where you can set up a certain amount of accidents, a certain amount of experience that you're looking for, and it'll kind of give you a red, green, yellow system across your dashboard to be able to highlight those drivers that meet those criteria that you're kind of looking for right from the jump. Easily configurable. One of the things that it's going to be just included in your base package as well. So awesome little tool that'll really kind of help improve that scoring functionality that we did have. Now, interest score. This is a score that is generated based on how responsive the driver is to responding to messages and filling out things for you, and recalculates every single day. So the more engaged the driver is with you during that hiring process, that interest score number goes up and really highlights those ones that are truly engaged and want to get in the door for you. Some of the other things, we've talked about the IntelliApp pre-pop and accepting those changes and how that's kind of affecting. I saw a good question while Drew was talking through there. Just something I wanted to make a good clarification on. Let's say you as a recruiter go in and make updates to an application. You still want to be able to send that confirmation IA out, just so that way you've got everything compliant on your side. But as different companies continue to update this information, that's chiseling down and creating a network effect of making sure that all drivers' applications that are coming through are the most up-to-date as possible. So it wouldn't be a request that you need to go back through and ask the driver, hey, go ahead and approve those pre-pop changes. You'd still go through those normal motions, but we're going to notify the driver as things happen. So that way, the next time there's an application to your company, because another company went in and updated this information, it's created that ripple effect. So that way drivers' apps are nice and cleaned up, and kind of helps keep that information flowing just from everybody within the Tenstreet network. So awesome. Also, conditional structured messages is a thing. If you're familiar with our Pulse Plus, this allows you to essentially have some decision making based off of drivers' answers. So we can make a pretty big decision tree around that. I love talking and getting into the weeds of that stuff. So if you're ever interested, shoot me an email. I'm more than happy to kind of get in the weeds there if it's something that you've got set up. A lot of updates around Exchange coming into place too. One of those being a new and improved Exchange summary tool, which I think is going to change the way that you process your VOEs, make it a much, much smoother process, as well as be able to find gaps in history, and just make that a little bit easier to manage from one place. Included with that will show potential missing employers, as well as a lot of Exchange requests at new app automation that is going to be available for you to choose if you would like. One thing, we're not going to go too into the weeds with it, but Exchange providing and charging is one thing that is coming up on the horizon. We have a great knowledge base article that's been shared. I'm more than happy to drop that in for you guys to be able to look at, but not going to get too far into that today. Also, you're going to see Exchange manage authorized requesters, so that way you can set a company to say, hey, I trust them. We can just automatically provide those verifications back and forth if I receive a request from them. You can kind of build that list out and control that. Also, one big one that caused a giant cheer back in May when we were in Vegas was the preview documents without downloading. There's going to be an eyeball button added into the documents section. So that way you don't have to download that document. That is a very small but mighty and welcome change. Now, in regards to onboarding too, we have some new training library additions, and you probably received some emails about the English proficiency test as well. So that's one of those things. But there's quite a few more that's been added in, as well as our new form builder tool. And I love that thing to death. There's so much more functionality in that, where if you really like to get in the weeds and customize your forms, Without sending that over to us at the account management team, you're going to have full access to this new form builder tool that is a lot more robust and in-depth and allow you to do so many different things. I know we've got a whole nother list for the safety side and a few other things as well. So one of the big 6 that we released as well is the DQF readiness tool, also included as just your base package with safety management. Essentially, think of this as while you're going through the process, this will allow you to click a DQF button on that driver's profile and show you where you're at with all the documents that you would be tracking in a DQF, as well as allow it to do an AI review to make sure the documents are legible, the dates on there are correct, and give you a little bit of introspective about it to also allow you to go in and review all of that information. That kind of ties in directly with DQF review tool as well, where you can go in and be able to designate, hey, this document's been reviewed, and kind of work through all of those. You'll see right underneath it, EQF and company document notifications. So this is your equipment file. So that way, if you're also tracking your equipment documents, such as your insurance, your 2290s, things like that, this will allow you to also get notifications within the same way as you were getting with your drivers. A big one I'm excited for too is an electronic permit book. So you will have the ability within safety management as well to upload those equipment documents and have that readily available electronically. So if you're storing those within Tenstreet, it'll allow someone to scan a QR code and view what all documents on that truck without having to have a giant folder or anything like that within the truck. Goes hand in hand as well with policies and procedures. These are documents you can set so that drivers will always have these available. They can go into Pulse and access. So if things like your company handbook or your safety policies, things like that, you can upload, set those, so that way they're readily available for drivers to always be able to grab. Whew. Sorry, I'm going through for a second. There's a lot through here. One thing here too, checklist for post-hire and events. We've always got some extra checklists we can set up, but this will allow you to have a little bit more customization around checklists for accidents, incidents, things like that. Also, the DQF can now be interactive in Pulse. So that way, if you pull up a driver's, if a driver were to pull up your company in Pulse and were to look at their DQF, they could click on a document and upload it right from there without any sort of request being needed or notification. Just makes it a little bit easier for them. And then, of course, there is some micro fleet stuff, allowing, if you have, let's say, some fleet owners that have drivers underneath them, this will allow them to be able to kind of manage and cause that connection underneath your company to make that a little bit of a smoother process. And then you can also dispatch truck map routes within Pulse using our truck map tools that we've recently added in. So lots and lots and lots of updates that are just going to be included as a part of safety management. Really excited for you guys to be able to kind of try some of these out. One other thing I want to mention on that retention side, we can now send bulk rewards, which is an awesome thing when it comes to Driver Appreciation Month coming up here soon. And then also reward point offer expirations coming in. So that way, if you send a driver some points and they don't redeem them, those can come back in into your company. So that way you don't have to worry too much about that. Last two things on optimization, I'll let Drew go into the Driver Pulse app and all the updates going in there. Pulse at Work. This is now Driver Pulse available on your EDM devices or your, why am I missing the word here, Drew?
ELD.
ELD, EDM, man, it's been a day. But your ELD devices, this is available through a lot of different vendors currently. And essentially what this is allows you to have Driver Pulse on your ELD device where you can communicate back and forth with those drivers. It's easy to set up, download through the through your ELD provider's marketplace. And then you can configure that up to where a driver can sign in directly with that. One thing too is it does take away the jobs menu on that. So it's specifically designed for you and the driver to have communication just between you and your company. And then also there's a bunch of Pulse Geo enhancements that have came in if you are using our Pulse Plus package. With Pulse Geo, it would allow you to set up notifications to happen once a driver hits certain areas and geofencing locations, just so that way, let's say you've got a specific shipper or a yard that you're going to, and you set up a geofence around it and they have a certain procedure that they would encourage drivers to do. That can always be a notification that you send to them whenever they get close to the area. So, whew, I went down the list here, Drew, but do you have anything else on driver pulse that you kind of want to talk in?
Yeah, so driver pulse, we're always adding new stuff, and if you get ideas on what we can add to it to make it better for drivers, we're trying to really make it the one-stop shop for everything they need. We've got maps, we have rewards, we've got all sorts of different things in there for them. We also have things like highway angels, which is we're publicly recognizing people for things that they've done on the road to make the road a safer place, right? Truckers against trafficking, allowing them to report and find additional details on how to report for trafficking issues that may pop up. Predatory towing has been a really big issue for drivers. Parking and then getting a tow and having to pay a ton of money. You can flag that and upload pictures showing that you're parked legally before that happens right there. Truck map, we've got safety filters, fuel stop preferences, all sorts of stuff coming to that one. If you haven't seen Truck Map, it's really cool to use. It's Google Maps for trucking, and it's great. The detention tracking tool. So that one is, hey, tracking how long are drivers stuck in, specific shippers. Are there places that are bad? That are really, long layovers, sort of stuff like that. So that way, not only can drivers get a better idea of what's going on, but so can your operations folks, and set those expectations and hopefully retain those drivers a little bit more on that one. On the must-have, so once again, just going over everything we've got. And if you've got more questions on here, if you've got questions, make sure to put them in the chat before we end. I'll touch on a few of them on our next slide. But just to recap, one tap apply, making sure that we're using the information we already have from their previous application on file, and sharing that with you so that way you can have a more intentional, better conversation, right? Call me now so you can get connected really, really fast with that driver, and while they're interested, and not have to wait. Fit and interest score. Hey, is the driver interested in you, and are they a good fit for what you're selling to them, right? Exchange summary. Taylor, I'm gonna let you touch on those. The next two right there.
Yeah, absolutely. So exchange summary, think of this as you have a new and improved screen. We've kind of revamped the exchange summary tool as it is, but it'll allow you to kind of have all those employment verifications and be able to send all in one place, as well as being able to identify any gaps in employment, as well as potential missing employers as well, in case there's somebody that might have something stored on that driver during certain time frames, to kind of help you make sure you've got the full picture. With DQF readiness as well, that's the power of AI and you being able to quickly check and see, hey, where are we with this driver's DQF documents as we're going through and getting them through the process, as well as allowing for AI to go through and make sure that, hey, all the documents look good, and make sure all dates are good, there's no blurry images, and make sure everything's good to go before you completely hire that driver and file all those away. And then I'll let you get the
Pulse job filters, my favorite thing. So you've got things like car haul, intermodal, things that weren't options. They're smaller subsets that are very important to drivers, right? That way you're showing to the right folks. You got 2+ years of experience available as a filter now, all that sort of stuff. Let's look at this one right here. So I mean that's all of that. We've got a few questions in here. We've got, I'm trying to see if we've got any more that we can look at. Everything, if you guys don't have it already, I would encourage you to download the Driver Pulse app, take a look around, see how that works from the driver's side so you can see how those messages and things work. If you're not already using the job store, you go through, use the job store and make sure that you've got your jobs updated on there and all of that sort of stuff. That way you can use all of these features to their fullest right here. When drivers apply, just take a look at everything. Make sure you're using one tap. It's my favorite thing we've launched all year, really, on this one. And you can see all of this information there. So that way you're spending less time chasing little tidbits of information and more time having intentional conversations. I don't see anything major in there. Taylor, there are a few questions in here. If I didn't get back to you, it's probably because you need to touch base with your advisors. We'll make sure that they reach out, or if you'd like to reach out to them directly, you can do that as well. So some of those are pretty specific for each company. I know everybody runs things a little bit differently on those.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of questions as well. We're going to try to reach out and make sure every question gets answered after this webinar if we weren't able to address it directly while we were here talking. So be expecting some emails coming out so that way we can address some of those and get you taken care of. With some of these functionality, kind of how that's going to look sort of thing. We are planning for this to be around the beginning of September, that these are going to be live and rolling into the dashboard. So there might not be the ability to take care of some of these things and set up these tools quite yet, but really wanted to make sure you understood what was coming, as well as, hey, who can I reach out to get this all set up when it's here, right? So definitely, I know Drew, if you've got anything marketing related or you need anything within the job store around any of those filters or getting things set up there, I know he's more than happy to help on that end, and as well as the rest of the job store team. And then also for anything of configuring any sort of tools that we've kind of talked about today, definitely reach out to us at the account managers email, account.managers@tenstreet.com. We'll help you get everything configured, set up. More than happy to talk through a lot of that information as well. So, all right. Well, Drew, anything else top of mind for you? Or
I believe that's it for me. Well, guys, it was a pleasure talking to you, and for those of you that were submitting questions, it's great talking with you. If you guys need anything, feel free to reach out to me, Taylor, your account manager, your advisor, anybody at Tenstreet. We're all here and willing to help. So everybody have a great rest of your Thursday and a great weekend.